Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
What's going on, 7-Footers gang? It's your girl Jenna here, and Jarod, of course, the dynamic duo that we know you missed. So we are back, guys, and it is a special night because it is draft night. The NBA is going wild. It's very weird because it's November. We understand, and we're here with you. But the trade windows are open, the free agents are ready, and they can sign with teams any second. The news is fluid. It is, I stole that word from Jarod. The news is fluid right now. Things are happening like crazy. They're changing like crazy. The Woj bombs are coming in left and right. So bear with us because we'll be updating you as we go. But this episode is solely focused on draft night trades and the madness that is going on. Jarod, how are you feeling? This is your busy time.
This is my busy time. Yeah, I am, looking at text messages, like refreshing feeds. I've got windows open on my laptop, ready to rock and roll. Look, as you said, it's going to be a busy night, guys. And everything is fluid, as Jenna said. So things might change. We might say something 1 minute, and then 2 minutes later, it's something totally different. So just be prepared for that. The Minnesota Timberwolves are on the clock right now. They have the number 1 pick. No trade has been announced. And we're going to get right into it. But, the day started off kind of crazy with some news. So, Jenna, why don't we take it away with what's going on, the most recent sort of like disturbing news?
Yes, absolutely. We need to touch upon how the NBA has announced a format for 2020 and 2021 season. Now, the 72-game season is going to have a crazier, different format that we're still digesting right now. So it's going to include a play-in tournament to determine the teams that will fill the 7th and 8th seed playoff seeds in each conference. All right. That is going to be madness in its own. And that is just one of many changes. Now, the regular season, as we told you guys, will start on December 22nd and feature 72 games, right? Now, it's going to get broken down, and we're going to take it piece by piece here, Jarod. Now, let's start that each team will play 3 games against each other, interconference opponent. Now, with each team featuring 2 home games, 1 road game, or 1 home game and 2 road games. Now, let's pause right there, Jarod. Break this down for the casual fan.
It's a lot of basketball, right? That's the biggest thing. It's going to be, as you mentioned, you're either going to a 1-2 format in terms of 1 home, 2 road, or 2 roads, 2 homes, 1 road, right? And the reason why they're doing that is to prevent against multiple and extensive travel, so that we are in the middle of a pandemic still, folks. So we don't want any of those coronavirus issues that we're seeing happening across the NFL, college football, and all the other sports where you can't control the environment like how they did during the bubble with the season that just finished. So that's the biggest reason for that. And it's going to be a 2-part deal, right, where they're releasing the schedule. So the first 40-something games will be announced, and then midway through, they're going to announce the next games. The reason why they're doing that is because the NBA is anticipating games in that first batch, those first 40-something, will get canceled because of a COVID outbreak or what have you, and have to get rescheduled potentially in the back half part of the season. So it's a lot of moving parts. It's super crazy. The biggest thing there, what I would say to the casual fan is stay tuned. Watch your division. So let's say you root for a team in the Atlantic Division like the Celtics, right? Pay attention to all the teams in your division and all the teams in the Eastern Conference, right? That's going to be your number 1 focus. And as we speak right now, Adam Silver is coming to the podium to announce the number 1 pick of the 2020 NBA draft. So let's see who the Minnesota Timberwolves will be selecting. This is always so like, who will the Timberwolves select? I mean, listen, the Timberwolves, dumpster fire organization, you know how I feel. And they went with Anthony Edwards from the University of Georgia, shooting guard. Now, this is interesting, right? Because LaMelo Ball was the talk about being the number 1 pick. What about James Wiseman? What about this? What about that? Anthony Edwards, he shot up the draft boards recently, the last couple of days. That's what's being talked about. And this is, of course, always a wonderful moment, right? When the young guys get to be with their families. I mean, of course, it's not It's not an in-person draft. It's virtual. So he's in his house with his family, and it's nice that they're getting to celebrate that. It's an interesting pick. I don't love Edwards. I mean, I like him. I think he's fine. We talked about this draft a lot. I don't think there are any superstars in this draft, right? Like, I think, look, if you get a guy and he turns into a long-term rotation level starter type player in this league, that's a win for you. I know that everybody's like, oh, we do this thing with the draft where we're always like, oh, number one pick should be X. Sometimes the talent just isn't there. And I don't see anyone really being a multiple all-star, super duper star. There's some potential there. Maybe a James Wiseman could do something. There's a couple maybes, but for the most part, this isn't that draft. I don't think, right? I think if you're lucky, you have a long-term, solid NBA starter type player, which, by the way, that's important because you can't have a team full of all NBA dudes. That's just not feasible. You got to have guys who are just starter level dudes. So if you can get that from this crew, amazing. I will say this. A lot of you know the Anthony Edwards story, right? Losing his mother, his grandma. I mean, it's a lot, right? And so what a wonderful moment for this young man. And, you know, kudos to him. I hope the Minnesota Timberwolves are a better being better run than they have been in the past because, you know, I've had some not so kind things to say about the Timberwolves. I believe I called them a dumpster fire.
The original, aren't they the original?
I believe the Timberwolves are the original dumpster fire.
Timber puppies.
Well, I call them the Timber puppies because I like them because they had Cat and Wiggins, but Wiggins isn't there anymore. And anyway, but I say all that to say, young man, this is just day one, right? The work continues. We're moving, Jenna, to number 2 because we should get right into this story right now. The Warriors are the number 2 pick, but they have some danger going on in Warrior Land right now.
Craziness is happening in Warrior Land, as you said, because we just got news right before we came on to record that Klay Thompson has a leg injury. Now, this is in the opposite leg of the torn ACL that he suffered last year that took him out the entire season of last season. And things are changing right now. I mean, we have reports saying that Monty Poole says 2 sources, neither was ready to assume it was catastrophic. They have significant decisions to make tonight for the draft because, like you said, they do have the number 2 pick. As we wait to get more info on Klay Thompson's injury, which really, it's all over the map right now. We don't know if it's serious. We don't know if it's minor, but it is in the opposite leg, which is very disheartening, seeing as he already had the torn ACL on the left knee. So
yeah,
break it down for me a little bit now.
Well, so here's the thing, right? You're the Golden State Warriors. Before Klay got hurt today in a workout, you had a plan about what you were going to do tonight on draft night. Now, they don't know the severity of the injury yet because he's undergoing tests right now. That now is causing Bob Myers and the Brain Trust over in Golden State to think, oh, well, what's our plan B? What's our contingency? This wasn't something they planned for. They didn't know Klay was gonna hurt himself today. And again, Monty Poole, Shams Charania, Mark Spears, guys who were plugged in. I reached out to my contacts over there, and all I got back was, Jarod, we don't know. That was it. Now, Monty and Shams and everybody's saying they're hearing things that, you know, it's not good. He was not able to put any weight on the leg. Some people are fearing Achilles. He was getting, you know, his heel area worked out. Some people are saying Michael Thompson, his dad, NBA legend, when he talked to Mark Spears or Monty Poole, his voice was somber. So again, we don't know. Nothing has been confirmed, but there is trepidation going on right now over in the Bay, in that area. But what we do know is, because, you know, the NBA is continuously moving, I'm hearing it, and Shams and Woj also reported it. It looks like the Warriors will take James Wiseman as their number 2 pick. And if they take Wiseman, what that's telling me is either A, they could think about trading later or what have you, or they don't think the injury to Klay is serious and they want to preserve the window with Steph, Klay, and Draymond, and that's a position of need for them, right? They need a rim running center who can block shots, who can run end to end, right? Play pretty good defense and attack. So if they do in fact draft Wiseman, as it looks like they will, that'll be a nice get for them. But again, as we said, this stuff is fluid. I mean, it literally, They could say they're taking Wiseman, and then in 2 seconds, someone gets traded.
Right. I mean, look what happened with Trae Young and Luka Doncic. So things can happen on draft night. And remember from last episode, I told you that James Wiseman was the guy who is also fluent in Mandarin.
Yes.
Very smart guy. Very smart guy. Entrepreneur at heart. So
very smart guy. Look, I like this for Golden State. Again, this is assuming Clay is going to be healthy, and again, we know nothing right now. He's undergoing tests right now. We're recording this at 8:17 p.m. Eastern time, which means it's only 5 o'clock on the West Coast, right? So who knows? Maybe later tonight we'll find out. Tomorrow morning, what the results of the test on Klay Thompson is. Look, we hope it's nothing serious because Klay's one of the great players in the NBA, and the Warriors are a fantastic team. And if they're all healthy and they can get Wiseman, that's a nice position of need for them, and they can do some things. So looking forward to some good news coming out of Golden State.
Oh yeah, absolutely. James Wiseman, great rebounder, 7-footer. I mean, he's got a lot of potential. Good get for the Warriors. All right, let's move on here because we have to talk about another trade that is extremely fresh, and that is Al Horford. The Sixers got rid of the plethora of a contract that is Al Horford to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, in return, Philly gets Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson. OKC, on the other hand, gets a top 6 protected 2025 first-round pick, the 34th overall pick in tonight's draft, and the rights to Serbian point guard Vasil. Not even going to attempt it.
Vasilije Micic. You were close.
Yeah,
you were close. Look, I mean, Daryl Morey, right? Shouts to president of operations over there in Philly and GM Elton Brand. Look, we know Daryl's thought process around this. Daryl believes if you have stars and you have a chance to win the NBA championship, if it's 5%, you go all in. And you could say, with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, yeah, you got at least a 5% chance to win a title. So Daryl's going all in. They were able to shed that Al Horford contract, which we know, we talked about it. I was like, oh man, who's going to take that contract? So they got it over to Oklahoma City. And of course, Sam Presti, the Oklahoma City GM, the pick god, he's out here collecting draft picks like it's nothing. I mean, homie's got 17 first round draft picks between now and 2026, which is crazy. And we'll get to Oklahoma City in a minute. Philly gets Danny Green, which is shooting, which is what they need. Shooting and defense, and Terrence Ferguson, a nice young player. And again, they only had to give up a top 6 protected 2025 and tonight's 34th. What that's telling me is that Daryl doesn't love anybody in this draft better than someone he can trade for. And what I think is happening is Philly's getting ready to make another trade. I think he thinks he can keep Embiid and Simmons together, possibly move, maybe it's Tobias Harris, maybe it's Danny Green again and something else to get more shooting in return. Who knows? I mean, as we said, this is insane. But I love what Philly's doing. They're trying to get pieces that fit because we knew Al Horford last year on Philly, it just didn't work with him and Embiid on the floor together. It was just wasn't a good look. So, stay tuned to what's happening in Philly. I know Philly fans are excited because they weren't happy with Horford. And again, as I said to you, Simmons and Embiid are two guys who can be, I mean, they are all NBA and all defense caliber dudes. And they're under the age of 25. You can't just, those type of players don't grow on trees. And you have 2 of them, right? You have to find a way to make this thing work and get better fitting pieces around them. And I think that is what Daryl Morey, Elton Brand is going to do, again, with that new coaching staff with Doc Rivers and everybody over there. So it'll be interesting to see what turns out in Philly and what else is in store for them. And Oklahoma City, again, look, Sam Presti's rebuilding. Everyone's loving the fact he's got all these picks. And again, I think it's great. It's incredible. 17 first round picks in the next. I mean, it's insane. But guys, they're just picks. They still have to draft well. Oklahoma City saw its most success as a franchise when they had who? Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. That's how you have success and win in this league. You have to draft and develop uber elite talent. That's what those three dudes are. One of them might be one of the 10 greatest players of all time. Can one of these 17 picks coming up in the next 6 years replicate that? Highly unlikely, because, again, guys like that don't just come out of the draft every year. But that's sort of the mindset that if you're an Oklahoma City fan, you say, okay, we have draft capital, we have cap space, we have friendly contracts. Because, again, maybe we can sign for we can trade for a star player who's got 3 years left on a deal or something. Who knows? So pay attention to what's going on in OKC.
100%. I mean, the memes right now about Sam Presti and OKC. First of all, I'm just going to say what we're thinking, and it's the fact that Sam Presti is making up for that huge loss in having 3 MVPs on one team. Yes.
Well, Jenna,
Westbrook,
listen, I think Presti's a fantastic GM. I am never, listen, he will always get a black mark from me for that James Harden trade. I don't care. Like, listen, you had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, and you traded James Harden away for essentially $5 million. Like, you broke up a team that went to the finals the next year. Why? For $5 million. You could try to run it back one more time, figure it out. So I'm just gonna, so he'll always, for me, I'm like, not a move I'd make. However, he has done some extremely incredible things since then. And Oklahoma City, look, when you're a franchise like that, we know they're not a free agent destination. Free agents ain't lining up to go play in Oklahoma City. That ain't it. So the way they get better is through the draft, through having assets and capital that they can trade to then bring on players that are already under contract. So we'll see. Phone's buzzing over here. We got all kinds of stuff happening. Trades. It's just crazy. Continue.
Insane.
It's insane.
Last note about that Al Horford contract. That actually saved the Sixers $25 million combined in payroll and luxury taxes. Daryl Morey's got to love that. More numbers to crunch, more people to get. So let's move on here.
Oh, really quick, more news. It looks like Shams Charania from The Athletic is reporting that sources are saying they fear it's a heel injury for Klay Thompson, and that's not a good look. And a heel injury for Klay Thompson. Oh. Yeah, on the other leg, and that's not good. Charlotte Hornets will select LaMelo Ball with the number 3 pick in the draft. Look, I get it. Like, LaMelo's got upside. Look, and I want to be clear about something. He can mature as a player and get better, and, things can happen for him. We talked about this last week in the episode before. I just don't like the stuff I was hearing about him, right? Like, the meeting's not going well. People telling me, oh, Jarod, the people around him were not thrilled. Like, I don't like any of that. Now, he's a kid, so 18, he can mature and develop and get better, but he's a long way to go. And when you talk about, I always say this, Jenna, for most people in the NBA, it depends on where they get drafted, right? That's going to determine how good they develop and all that. Unless you're like LeBron, Kevin Durant, people like that, they're going to be good no matter where they go because they're that talented. Most people, no. It's got to be the right kind of organization, not a dumpster fire. So, what do we think about the Charlotte Hornets?
Well, in all fairness, it's been a minute since we've talked about the Charlotte.
Right. And the Hornets, look, they're just, okay. as an organization, like, really? Like, we'll see. I'm just going to put it out like that. We shall see. I doesn't look good to me. I'm just going to put it out like that. Doesn't look good to me.
Here's the interesting part about this, too, taking all the X's and O's out of it. LaMelo Ball, he's obviously a phenomenal player, but he is someone who is popular, and he's not, how do I say this? I'm interested to see how he thrives in the small pond that is Charlotte, as opposed to being a big fish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In these other places being so flashy and things like that. And not to bring it up in that sort of petty tone, but this kid is used to being a star.
Yeah.
He's used to rising above others, I guess you can say. So it's going to be interesting to see him on a team that has a lot of work to do, and he can either take this opportunity, and this is the last thing I'll say, he can either take this opportunity and lead and really create something special in Charlotte, or his attitude could get the best of him. He's a young kid. I don't know. 50-50. We'll leave it at.
I mean, wow. I don't even think it'll be 50-50, but yeah, I just don't love it. But again, look, guys can mature and develop and grow. We'll see. I just don't think Charlotte's the environment for that. But guess what? Maybe that small market might be beneficial to him because it's not a big time market like LA or whatever. You know, maybe he'll be someone who it'll be a place where he can just focus on, you know, his craft. So of course, you know, God, things are just moving like crazy here. Number 4 pick hasn't been announced yet, but it looks like the Chicago Bulls are going to take Patrick Williams from Florida State. He's a freshman wing. You know, again, another player in this draft who I'm like, all right, 6'8", you know, 6'11" wingspan, decent shot creator, you know, he can do some things. Maybe a 3-and-D guy, maybe. Got to work on the shot, you know. But we'll see. So that's the fourth pick right now. And what I'm hearing is that the Cavaliers, who pick 5th, they are trying to figure out who wants to trade with them because they don't want it. For the 5th pick, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah, as we said, things are just fluid right now. You know what? Someone said something funny.
They are. Patrick Williams, big basketball family he's part of. Both his parents played. His brother played college ball. So the passion's definitely there.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
As a players that we've heard. So
wait, someone said something funny about the Balls family. So they were like, the only reason why Michael Jordan chose LaMelo Ball is because of that time LeVar said he could beat Michael Jordan in basketball, and now Michael just wants to torment LaMelo.
Wait, that's actually incredible. I didn't even think of that.
I mean, that's so on brand for Jordan, though. He's the king of petty, so I mean, why that'd be on brand for him. Now, I wouldn't want to sink my franchise for it, but you know, hey. Anyway, more trades. Let's talk about Jrue Holiday to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, we got to talk about this because things shifted very quickly for Jrue Holiday. At first, we didn't think that this type of destination was for him, but then he ends up on the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, this was a crazy trade that we had, all right, with the Pelicans. Now, the Pelicans get Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, the number 24 pick in tonight's draft, the 2024 first-round swap rights, 2025 first-round pick unprotected, and 2026 first-round swap rights, and 2027 first-round pick unprotected as well. Now, the Pelicans got a lot.
It's a lot of picks.
A lot of picks. And Milwaukee got the 60th pick, in tonight's draft. Now, before we move to more Milwaukee news quick, the Jrue Holiday move to Milwaukee, I like it. People are excited. They're getting excited that Giannis is going to stay.
Well, here's the thing, right? They now have 2 people who can create a shot for themselves next to Giannis. And those 2 people are Jrue Holiday, obviously, and Chris Middleton. Because what happens in the playoffs is Giannis has to be that second shot creator, and that's not really, you know, and to create for others. He's miscast in that role. Jrue Holiday is an upgrade over Eric Bledsoe in every possible way, right? A better defender. I mean, Eric Bledsoe's a good defender, but as good a defender, if not better than Eric Bledsoe, and a huge upgrade offensively. And that matters. Will they miss George Hill? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. Here's the big thing here, though, if you're Milwaukee. I love it for them. I think it's great. It gives Giannis an opportunity to see, okay, with another creator next to me, how does this go? Here's the thing, though, Jenna. Giannis has until December 20-something to sign his Supermax offer. If he doesn't, okay, then we can't sign it again until the end of the season. Mm-hmm. There is still a chance that Giannis leaves at the end of this season. That's still on the table, especially if he doesn't sign that extension right before by later December of this year. If you are Milwaukee and he doesn't sign the extension at all and leaves at the end of this summer, you're screwed. We just told you what they gave away. Tonight's 24th pick, a 2024 first round swap, 2025 first round unprotected, 2026 swap, 2027 first round. All your draft capital is gone. And again, you're Milwaukee. You're not a free agent destination. Players ain't lining up to come to Milwaukee. How do small market teams build? Through the draft. Well, you just gave away your draft picks the next 7 years. Not 7. The next 3 years. That's not good. Right? So they better hope with Drew they make a run to the finals and they maybe even win it, because if they don't and Giannis leaves, woo boy, it's going to be dark times in Minnesota. I'm sorry, in Milwaukee.
Right. I mean, it's no secret that this move was made deliberately as a last chance to get Giannis to stay. Get him that final good piece that he needs with, the trio that is Chris, Giannis, and
Drew
the number 3 part obviously being Drew Holiday. So this is a crucial season for them, because this is more of, in my eyes, a one and done. If Giannis, like you said, does not make a finals run, and if they do not even win it all, the 2-time reigning MVP, I don't think he's going to be staying in Milwaukee.
I don't think so either. And speaking of Milwaukee, I mean, they thought they were going to get Bogdanovich from Sacramento in a sign and trade, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening.
Yeah, this one is weird and tricky, because Bogdan was supposed to go to Milwaukee. The deal is off. So now we have some reports here. A source is saying out there now the Bogdan to Milwaukee scenario is off the table from his vantage point. The Bucks have been hopeful that it could be saved, but all signs point to him heading elsewhere ultimately. And we also have multiple reports around the league saying that he wasn't going there to begin with. So this is not a surprise to many. Does he feel like he can get more money somewhere else?
Well, he's going to enter restricted free agency, not unrestricted, restricted free agency. And the difference for the casual fan out there is when you are an unrestricted free agent, the team that you just left, you can just leave. You can sign. If someone offers you a deal, boom, go. When you are a restricted free agent, the team that just most recently had your rights has 24 hours to match whatever offers put out there. So no such thing exists if you're unrestricted, but if you're restricted, that's the deal. So will Sacramento match? Probably not. So he wants to see if he can get something better on the open market. If you're Sacramento, why don't you guys do your due diligence and find out, Bogdan, you cool with going to Milwaukee? Like, apparently, from all reports, they didn't even ask him or talk to him about it. So, listen, we talk about dumpster fire organizations. Jesus, Sacramento, they are at the top of the list on that. And I'll tell you right now, if Bogdan, and it doesn't look like he will, that would have been a nice piece, because that would have given them 3 shot creators next to Giannis, right? In the playoffs, you guys know, you watch enough NBA. The team that has the most dudes who can create a shot for themselves and for others tends to win, right? That's just kind of how this goes. The more of those guys you have, the better. And again, because when Giannis was cast in that role, that's what limits them, because he's not a great shooter and all those things. So when they pack the paint and they force him to shoot jumpers, hey, Miami blitzed them. We saw that just in the bubble. So not getting may hurt in the long run in terms of getting Giannis to stay. So stay tuned there.
I 100% agree. I mean, like I just said, they're trying to do anything to get him the pieces that he needs, and hence giving away all of their picks and everything else that they basically had besides their pants. So that's that. We got to talk, because Chris Paul is on the move again, and he is going to the Valley, the Phoenix Suns, to join Devin Booker and the squad. Now let's break this trade down.
Hold on. Pick just in. Cleveland Cavaliers take Isaac Okoro with the number 5 pick. Hey, listen, they were trying to trade that, but apparently they had nobody was interested in that. He's a wing, freshman from Auburn, 6'6", about 6'9" wingspan. He's a really good defender. That shot needs to get better, though, all right, for to have value on offense, right? Because the big thing there is that you don't want to be playing 4-on-5, right? So that offensive game has to be better. The defense is there, so coaches like when young guys play defense, so that's good. He needs to shoot and get better shooting in this league. So number 5, Cleveland Cavaliers are taking Isaac Okoro. Continue with Chris Paul going to the Valley of the Sun.
Right, yes. Chris Paul is going to the Valley to join Devin Booker and the squad. Let's break the trade down. OKC gets Kelly Oubre Jr., Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, and a 2022 first-round pick. Phoenix also gets Abdel Nader, and obviously the mind and soul that is the point guard, Chris Paul. We saw the tapes. The receipts are out there. Chris Paul and Devin Booker are already cooking in the gym training. This is so beneficial for Devin Booker's development and growth, even though some would argue he doesn't even need any help.
Well, I mean, he was an all-star this year, right? So obviously, of course, just through osmosis, he's going to get so much better just sharing the floor with Chris Paul. But who this is going to help even more is DeAndre Ayton. Chris Paul will be the best pick-and-roll player that DeAndre Ayton has ever played with. I mean, hell, Chris Paul might be the best pick-and-roll player, like, you know, one of the best the NBA has ever seen, for sure. So that's huge. So look at how Ayton's game is going to develop and all the easy shots that Ayton's going to get off of what Chris Paul can do. This Phoenix squad's going to be fun. They got Bridges. They got Cam Johnson. They're going to be a fun little squad. Look, they're going to compete for a playoff spot, as always. So I'm pretty excited about this for Phoenix. You know, a lot of people talk about, should Chris go somewhere where he can win a ring and all that? I think, look, Chris would love to win a ring, right? Who doesn't? We know he's super competitive. He's the point guard, all that. But he is the best pure point guard of his generation, right? One of the great players in the history of the NBA. If you look at all of Chris Paul's advanced stats, I mean, he's an all-timer, like an all-time great. And, you know, rings, he may not win a ring, but that's not going to define his overall career. First ballot Hall of Famer, easy. If you're Oklahoma City, again, Jesus, more draft picks. And the Oubre contract, that's expiring, right? So they'll have more cap space. Ricky Rubio, they might trade him. Stay tuned for that. I mean, Sam Presti, again, they're trying to build something long-term. And the only way you do that when you are a small market team, as I've said, is when you have picks, cap space. And that's what they have. Right now, it looks like the Atlanta Hawks are going to go with Onyeka Okongwu, the big man out of USC with the number 6 pick. What that tells me is that John Collins might be on the block. We'll see. I don't know. Who knows?
Man, John Collins. I feel like he's been around for a minute, but he hasn't.
But he hasn't. Woj dropping more bombs. Detroit Pistons, they're going to pick Killian Hayes with the number 7 pick. A lot of people like Killian Hayes. He's played overseas in the Australian League. He's an interesting player. Again, we talked about this. I don't love anybody really in this draft as like going to be that guy. But again, if he can be a solid rotation guy, that's a win for Detroit. And young talent, can they develop it? Troy Weaver, by the way, the GM over in Detroit, they're kind of building a new culture there, and hopefully they can figure out what that is and, you know, where they're going to go as a franchise from there. They got Blake Griffin, you know, they got some things, but yeah, he's a nice little player, 6'5", 6'8" wingspan, 19. He can make shots. He's only 18, so, you know, room for growth and improvement.
Major room for growth and improvement. His father also played professionally too, overseas as well. So he's got basketball in the blood. So I think he's a promising pick. Back to the Chris Paul trade here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's not forget that he's also a second coach on the floor, right?
No
So
doubt.
he's going to reunite with his old coach, Monty Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He coached him for a season in 2010 and 11 and with New Orleans. So I'm interested to see how that dynamic is going to work too.
Yeah, I think, again, that veteran presence. Chris is going to teach those guys about winning habits. And that's what Chris is. Chris is a winner. Yes, he hasn't won the big one. But guess what? Not a lot of people win the big one. You know, just looking at just math, I mean, you people realize that, like, of the 70-something, 72 or so NBA champions that have been crowned, 6 franchises have basically won all of them. Right? I mean, so the majority of people aren't going to win titles. That's just how this works. Okay? Hell, the majority of NBA players won't even make a conference finals. It's just how it is. So I don't think that's a knock per se on Chris Paul. But yeah, his leadership, teaching those guys how to win. You know, hell, Devin Booker might lead the league in scoring this year. Who the hell knows, right? Like, and again, Ayton's going to see huge improvement. Phoenix will be they'll be an exciting squad, and Monty Williams has that veteran presence. Because sometimes you don't want to hear your coach say it. Well, although we do know from Chris, sometimes you don't want Chris to say it either, because you know Chris tends to be a little grating on players. But it does come from a place of, look, I want you guys to be the best you possibly can be, and Chris is so competitive that'll rub off on those guys.
Right. And I was having this conversation actually a couple nights ago with someone when this trade went down. And they asked me they said something along the lines of, you know, what is Chris Paul giving up on a ring, whatever, this and that. I don't think Chris Paul is giving up on a ring.
No.
I think Chris Paul is seeing reality, and hey, he's not in his 20s anymore. There is limited time. So are you going to try to chase a ring? And of course, hey, Chris Paul, like you said, he's a winner. He doesn't give up. But weighing the options, if he can go and already have a great legacy and leave a legacy of teaching these young guys who maybe one day will win chips. I hate the conversation about only basing resumes on championships.
Yeah, no doubt.
Rings. Yeah. It's not an individual thing. It is a team thing. And you made such a great point that nobody ever talks about. Out of all the championships in NBA history, only a select few franchises have even won.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it goes, right? Like again, of the 70, I think it's 72 like 6 franchises have won the majority of them, right? It's the Lakers, it's the Celtics, it's the Bulls, it's the Warriors, right? Like those and the Spurs, like those teams have won the bulk of the championships. That's just how it is, right? And again, another point on Chris Paul. The other part too is that, yeah, it would be nice for him to have gone to a contender, but you have to also remember he's got a pretty big contract, and not a lot of contenders have the cap space that they can eat and absorb to take in that deal, right? So a lot of things have to play out and work there. And look, Sam Presti did what was best for Oklahoma City. He got the best deal he could for the OKC Thunder. We'll see how that all develops from there. But anyway, I like the move. I think it'll be interesting and exciting to see.
Yes, another exciting move that a lot of people are pumped about is Dennis Schroeder to the Lakers. This is another great piece for the Lakers. Dennis Schroeder is an absolute dog, and it was an incredible get for LA. Now, OKC in that trade got Danny Green and the number 28 pick in tonight's draft. So, Danny Green, I don't want to say poor Danny Green, but he's been traveling.
Well, I was going to say, so Danny Green now on Philly. So Danny Green went from LA to Oklahoma City to now on Philly, right? Like that's been his week. And we always talk about that, right? Like these guys, listen, that's why I say these are human beings and this is their lives. Like imagine you wake up one day and you're like, yeah, so you're going to Oklahoma City. And then 2 days, oh, what? Nope, you're going to Philly, right? Like, yes, and you can say it's the money, blah, 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 all that. But they're humans. They have feelings and emotions about this stuff. But I think Philly's a good spot for Danny. But look, I think Schroeder's a great pickup for the Lakers. Again, it gives them another shooter, which, hey, whenever you surround LeBron James and Anthony Davis with shooting, that's a beautiful thing. And again, OKC got the 28th pick in tonight's draft. We've already talked about Sam Presti and his haul of draft picks. I think that's a good deal.
I do too. I like it a lot. Pretty simple to the point. So on that note, let's move on because we have a trade with Houston and the Trailblazers. Now, Robert Covington goes to the Blazers, and in return, Houston gets Trevor Ariza, the number 16 pick in tonight's draft, and a 2021 protected first-round pick. Nice right there.
Well, that's not going to stay for long.
What do you think about this move with Covington to...
Well, yes. So Covington's going to Portland, which I like. I love that. That's a position of need for them, right? Because he's a 3-and-D guy, which is huge. You have Dame and CJ, and you have Nurk. Love that. What I meant about the Ariza deal is, though, Ariza is not staying in Houston. He's going to get sent to Detroit for that and the number 16 pick for a future first round, and that's going to give Houston more space to use the mid-level and free agency. Look, the big thing is the Houston Rockets are shedding salary. That's what they're doing. And we have not yet talked about their hope, which is to move off of James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Even though they're saying all types of different things, no, they want to, this is what they want. They want to, because your man Tilman Fertitta, we talked about it, he a broke boy. Okay, so he's trying to shed salary so he can figure out, what to do with this squad. We talked about Killian Hayes. He did, in fact, get picked by the Pistons, which means New York Knicks fans, get excited at number 8 because it looks like Obi Toppin, who everyone loves, is available. And I've been told if Toppin is available at 8, the Knicks will, in fact, pick him up. And he is available. So, Knicks fans, get excited.
That's right, Knicks fans. We back. We coming. We coming slowly but surely.
Let's calm down.
We are coming.
Let's calm down. Ain't nobody coming yet.
Oh, it's like us and the Giants too, man. We just can't catch a break out here. You know what I'm saying? And we haven't really touched upon the juggernaut of a headline that is James Harden.
Yeah.
Opted out of $100 million. And that's a pretty strong sign that says, hey, I don't want to be in Houston. So we know that Houston is kind of being a little bit lax on this. They're not really answering phone calls per reports unless it's a massive get. Obviously, I mean, come on, look who you have. The
step back out
again, back of that in James Harden, and then you got the Westbrook contract as well.
Yep.
And tell me a little bit about Westbrook here, because a lot of people are saying that really no teams are calling.
Well, because the challenge with Westbrook, of course, is that we've seen this story before, right? Like we know what he is. Westbrook up until this year with Harden, and it was only one round since Kevin Durant left him, has not won a playoff series. That's just a fact, right? Like, so, but except when he went to Houston, they did win the first round. But I mean, you know what the postseason Russell Westbrook looks like. Yeah, he'll win you a ton of regular season games, and you will have a guy who plays hard, balls to the wall, all that jazz. But when it's winning time in the postseason, Westbrook has not proven that is something he can do, right? And as the lead guy. And if you're a team trying to make the playoffs, how does that help you? Like, right? Like, now, if you're a team that needs to like get back to relevancy and get more fans in the seats and all that, yeah, I'd do it, right? For the Knicks, right? Like, sure. But I think you know that story. So I think that deal, getting the Westbrook contract, that's going to be a little bit harder for teams to take on. But Harden's one of those 6 guys, right? We talk about it all the time. If you don't have one of the 6 or 7 guys, right, and we know who they are, LeBron, Steph, Harden, KD, right, like Giannis, Kawhi, like if you don't have one of them, you're probably not winning a title. Now, just because you have one of them, that doesn't mean you're winning a title either, but you at least have a chance, right? If you don't have one of those guys, you got no shot. And so James Harden's one of those guys. Now the question is, what would teams be willing to give up to get James Harden, right? Where would he fit? He says he wants to go to Brooklyn. Of course, people are like, that's a disaster, right? On in so many ways, just because you only have one ball. You got Kyrie, who loves to pound the ball. You got James Harden, who loves to pound the ball. You got Kevin Durant, who likes the ball in his hands. It's like, okay, It's that's
Right.
that's
There's only one ball.
right.
So I don't know where we thought,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
was going to happen. It's
yep.
going to be like a daycare with one toy.
And I think for people like us, this is like content heaven, right? It's like, oh my god, this is gonna be a story every week coming, not even every day coming out of Brooklyn. And just so we're clear, yes, Obi Toppin will be selected by the Knicks. Sources are saying. So kudos to the Knicks. This is a guy they had their eye on, and looks like they're gonna get him. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, on paper, you have maybe one of the 10 greatest players of all time in Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. I mean, 3 All-NBA dudes. Yes, in terms of talent, it'd be tough to beat that team. But for that team to be good and to reach the ceiling they can is going to involve a lot of sacrifice amongst all 3. Who's sacrificing of those 3?
Well, exactly. And I
Right.
mean, I really don't.
Right.
I don't see Harden
Right.
switching up his game
Right.
at all. And he's a ball dominant guy. And I feel like Kyrie found his home in Brooklyn because he wasn't being forced to do certain things under LeBron James and the Cavaliers so long ago. And then that's what really started it. And then you get to the Celtics, it didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I don't think Kyrie's going to fold either. So
yeah. So stay
That's
tuned on that. It'll be interesting to see where that all goes. Yeah. And so that's I mean, wow. Whew, I'm exhausted. That's just what's happened over the past, couple of days and the draft picks that we've given you just since the top of the hour. But this is fluid,
Literally.
guys. I mean, God, by the end of tonight, by the time we come back next week to recap or do whatever, we could everything we've said, I mean, except for the draft picks, could be totally different, right? It could be anything.
100%.
But
And as we get closer to the regular season, we'll keep you guys posted and get more in depth with that structure, that new structure that we're doing. The second half of the season schedule isn't going to be even released until March, and right around when they have All-Star break scheduled, the 5th to the 10th. So,
which, by the way,
again,
All-Star break with no All-Star game this year, just so the fans know that, right? So yes, there will be an All-Star break, but there will be no All-Star game.
yeah. That one is still hurting for me. That's like my season. That's like my Super Bowl, my vacation, my like love. So yeah, and then they have the playoffs scheduled at the end of May into July. So they're trying to get back on schedule here. Like we said, guys, before the December 22nd start, we will get you guys caught up and in the know on that new structure.
No doubt. Knicks,
right now, we're just knee-deep in trades.
Knicks Twitter is so happy right now. Woo! They loving some Obi Toppin. Look, and Obi Toppin, I'm from Dayton, 6'9", 6'11" wingspan. I mean, he's super athlete. I mean, jumps out of the gym. I mean, look, he's crying right now. I mean, it's there's always a nice day when like they get drafted and they show all the emotion. Like, look, the Knicks have They have young talent. The question just ultimately is, as a franchise, like, what are you guys gonna do? Like, are you are you gonna develop these guys and do anything with it, or is it gonna be more of the same? I hope.
Well,
I hope for Knicks fans' sake that it's not more of the same, right? I hope things get better, and they really start changing things around. And really quick before we go. The Wizards pick number 9. Looks like they're going to select Denny Avdija from Maccabi Tel Aviv, who I like a lot. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I think he's got some talent. Again, in the right situation, if he can develop, are the Wizards that kind of organization? We don't know. Time will tell.
Listen, all I'm waiting for is a Bradley Beal trade. That's it. That's it. Put some respect on his name.
We love Bradley Beal. We love Bradley Beal.
Love Bradley Beal. He's the best. Yeah, Obi, real quick. Yeah, I mean, he's going back to the East Coast. He was born in Bushwick, so happy for him.
Yeah.
Go Knick.
Brooklyn, stand up. Yeah, no, look, he's getting back in his hometown in New York. And listen, Knicks fans, listen, the thing about the draft that's so every team, you have hope, right? You're like, oh man, this is our guy. We're going to be, and then, in a week, it's like, yeah, probably not. But,
I have to say about this draft, I mean, we touched upon it before. It's not deep. A lot of teams aren't even as interested. They really kind of want to fall back. They want to give up their picks. And again, no shade to any of the guys. It's just that this draft really isn't flashy. There's no superstar. There's no known guy who you can say, like we said about Zion, hey, he's going to come in and he's going to be the next face. He's going to change this team. There's no franchise-altering, changing guys in this draft. Now, I hope I am proven wrong. Hence, I mean, Isaiah Thomas, 60th pick in the draft. Love you.
But again, not a franchise-chasing guy. But that's the whole point, though, Jenna, right? Like I talked about. Those kind of guys don't grow on trees. Like you don't get one every year. That's not how this works. They're generational. Like that's how it is, man. Like, and so we shall see. We shall see.
We shall see. I mean, guys, thank you always for hanging out with us. We have the best time, and this is our busy time, even though we're not really used to this timeline. But hey, we're all together. So, Jarod, tell them where they can find us.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube at 7footerspod, on Twitter at 7footerspodcast, on Instagram. This episode will be out tomorrow. Well, when you get it, you'll hear it. But we'll recap, and next week we'll be back to talk about where everybody landed, and then we'll get ready for next season's starting. We're gonna be, first of all, Thanksgiving's gonna be here next week. I mean, we're cranking, man. We're rolling through this. But we appreciate you guys for sticking with us. At JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me come